Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Laura Prada from the Telesur Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Welcome. We begin talking about WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who has been rushed to the medical area of Belmarsh prison, where he's being held in the United Kingdom. In an official statement, WikiLeaks says the organization is gravely concerned about Assange's well-being, which has been deteriorating after being stuck for 7 years inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London without proper access to health care. The organization added that Assange had been living in conditions incompatible with basic human rights since 2012. And now we talk about United States Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who has said that charging President Donald Trump with a crime following his investigation was not an option. As a special counsel, Mueller has tasked with investigating alleged Russian interference in 2016 presidential elections.
It contains our findings and analysis and the reasons for the decisions we made. We chose those words carefully, and the work speaks for itself. And the report is my testimony. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress.
And now, after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's failure to form a coalition government, Israeli lawmakers have voted to dissolve the parliament. This triggered the call for an election which is scheduled for September 17th. Our correspondent in Egypt, Nayara Tardo, has the details about this information for us. Welcome, Nayara.
Local media in Israel has reported that this Wednesday the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, was obliged to call new elections. Netanyahu won the elections in April. However, he hasn't been able to create a cabinet nor reach an agreement with other political parties to form a government. The principal obstacle for Netanyahu in these negotiations has been with the far-right Avigdor Lieberman, the defense minister and the leader of Yisrael Beitenu party. During his time as defense minister, he has led numerous political aggressions against the Palestinian people. Local media has reported that Lieberman sought to adopt a law to conscript young Orthodox Jews into the military, which Netanyahu opposed. Lieberman demanded the conscription as part of any agreement to govern. Israeli president said that if an agreement wasn't reached today, legislative elections could be called again for the end of August or the beginning of September. As you mentioned, during his time as defense minister, Lieberman adopted cruel, aggressive measures against the Palestinian people, as has Netanyahu. Every time he dared during one of the internal cabinet crises he has faced. He has also implemented expansion policies supporting Jewish settlements in Palestinian territories in order to gather votes and gain the support of Israeli colonies. However, local media have highlighted protests against Netanyahu last weekend because of corruption allegations. Regional analysts have said that this is the reason why aggression against Palestine has increased incrementally, above all in the West Bank. Around 21 Palestinians were arrested without justification in the West Bank and Jerusalem yesterday. What we know is that today was the deadline given for Netanyahu to create a cabinet, and instead elections will be called.
Thank you, Nayara. And the United Nations has demanded the immediate release of Catalan independence leaders imprisoned by the Spanish government. The arbitrary detention work group corresponding to the UN Human Rights Committee has called for the immediate release of leaders of the Catalan independence movement currently jailed in Spain. The work group said that imprisonment of Oriol Junqueras, Jordi Sanchez and Jordi Cuixart are arbitrary, adding that Spain must adopt the necessary measures to rectify the situation without delay. The prisoners' lawyers, Ben Emerson, said the decision is a turning point in the situation of political prisoners and Catalonia in general.
Today's decision ought to be a turning point in the situation of the political prisoners and Catalonia in general. The effect of the decision is to require the Spanish government to ensure their immediate release and, in effect, to ensure the immediate release of all of their co-accused. I think now is that this is a very clear warning note from the United Nations to the Spanish government that they have an opportunity to pause and to put the situation right before they plunge headlong into a fundamental breach of international law ongoing.
And a top Mexican executive known as the King of Steel have been arrested in Spain. Alonso Ancira is accused of paying $1 million bribe to Emilio Lozoya, the former director of the Mexican oil company Pemex. Ancira is the head of Altos Hornos de Mexico, one of the country's largest steel companies, and a judge also issued an arrest warrant for his alleged co-conspirator Emilio Lozoya, who was also a top advisor to the former president Enrique Peña Nieto. And we go to the Caribbean because a number of climate resilience programs will be launched throughout the Caribbean at a cost of $49 million. The launch will take place as delegates from 20 Caribbean countries meet in Barbados to come up with solutions to climate disaster risk. One of the projects is a $31 million regional resilience facility. The Understanding Risk in the Caribbean conference is organized by the World Bank and the European Union and Barbados government. CARICOM Ambassador Gail Maturin delivered remarks on behalf of CARICOM's Secretary General.
The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, for example, for the period between 1990 and 2014, the Caribbean sustained losses of between 1.8 to 2% of gross domestic product per annum. And in many cases, losses have exceeded 100% of gross domestic product. For example, Ivan in Grenada in 2004, the Haitian earthquake in 2010, Irma and the impact on the British Virgin Islands in 2017, Maria and the impact in Dominica in 2017.
And like this, we go to a first break here from the South. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Telesur English and on my account, of course, as you have seen here, at Laura Peterser. Stay with us. We are back and we talk about Bolivia. There, the President Evo Morales continues leading the polls ahead of the presidential elections scheduled for October. Morales tops the voting intention with 38%, followed by former President Carlos Mesa with 27.1% of preferences, according to a recent survey released by Bolivian media. A ruling by the Constitutional Court validated Morales' candidacy despite opposition protests that it reaches a 2 consecutive term limit. And now to Colombia, where Supreme Court has ordered that former FARC leader Jesus Santrich be set free. According to the court, Santrich has immunity thanks to his opposition as a representative in the country's lower house of Congress. Earlier this month, Santrich was released from prison only to be arrested just minutes later due to the alleged discovery of new evidence linking him to drug trafficking in the United States. Since then, a special jurisdiction for peace, members of the FARC party, and supporters of the 2016 peace agreements have demanded his immediate release. The Supreme Court is also set to take over the investigation of his case.
We are very happy with this decision. Jesus Santrich's rights are being reinstated after being violated by the government. This ruling is incredibly important because it recognizes his standing as a member of the lower house of Congress. We are just waiting to find out what procedures we need to follow so he can come here and swear into his post.
And the bail hearing of Swedish software developer Ola Vini has started in Ecuador. Vini is facing spying charges due to his alleged links to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. In a last-minute development, the hearing was changed from an in-person court appearance to a video conference system. The switch came despite the fact Vini is currently jailed in the same city where the hearing is taking place. Social organizations and supporters of a free press have criticized this decision, calling it another step backwards for Ecuador's justice system. And at least 20 people have died in the southeastern state of Veracruz in Mexico after a bus collided with a truck. Another 31 people have been taken to a nearby hospital. The bus was leaving the capital towards the southern state of Chiapas when the accident occurred. Mexican authorities have launched an investigation into the cause. And Paraguay has declared a state of emergency in the capital, and 6 other departments as flooding has reached devastating levels across the country. The Paraguayan Chamber of Deputies approved an emergency fund of $800,000 for the National Emergency Secretariat to support the affected areas, especially the department of Boquerón. The state of emergency will be valid for 90 days. So far, at least 72,000 families have been affected by floods throughout the country. And trade unions in Argentina are holding 24 hours general strike to protest against economic and social policies of President Mauricio Macri. The strike was called by the General Workers Union and immediately supported by other main trade unions federations, as well as by other social movements and left-wing parties. The opposition has built a strong bloc to demand solutions to the current economic crisis, which hits the working class and the poor the hardest. Several people were injured when the police used pepper spray and rubber bullets to disperse protesters. A group of more than 4,000 demonstrators had gathered at the Pueyrredón bridge to block one of the access roads into Buenos Aires. They remained there until 11 in the morning and then marched to the obelisk monument in the center of the capital. Our correspondent Edgardo Esteban was there and sent us the following report. Welcome, Esteban.
This general strike called by the Trade Union Federation is having a major impact here. There are no buses running, no flights. Schools, hospitals, and banks are closed, and this shows the level of discontent among workers with the government's economic policies. The day began with the roads leading into the capital being blocked. There were marches in the center of the city called by the left parties and social movements to demand a solution to the hardships people are facing. Added to this, there were 3,000 soup kitchens set up around the country, handing out a meal to the most vulnerable sectors of the population. The trade union federations have made clear they will continue to take actions like this until the government comes up with a response to this very critical economic situation that the people of Argentina are facing.
Thank you, Edgardo. We follow that information. Now to Honduras, where teachers are continuing their general strike against the government's bid to privatize the education sector and the health care. Educators are also calling for the removal of articles in the law and reforms that would expedite budget cuts for these sectors. Some of the reports have been recommended by the International Monetary Fund would also lead to mass layoffs. Doctors and nurses have also been staggering demonstrations and partial strikes since May 20th. And Pope Francis sent a letter to Brazil's former president Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, asking him to continue his struggle for justice from inside the prison. In the text, Pope Francis said he knew Lula had endured great difficulties recently, especially with the loss of beloved ones like his wife Marisa Leticia, his brother, and his grandson Arturo, who was only 7 years old. The Pope said he wants to show his spiritual closeness and wishes Lula courage so he won't lose hope and will continue to trust in God. Pope Francis ended his letter saying, "Good will triumph over evil and truth will overcome lies." Time for a second and very short break. Stay tuned. And we are back. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has been sworn in for a second term following his re-election in the month of February. He was inaugurated on Wednesday in the capital Abuja in front of thousands of his supporters. Buhari will have to deal with an economic slowdown and rising ethnic violence in Nigeria during his new term, I must say, at the helm of South Africa's largest economy.
We are here to witness the inauguration of Mr. President for the second tenure. Of course, you are aware that we are now talking of next level, which means we've finished the first level of the administration. We are now moving into the era of consolidation. So our expectation is that Mr. President will now focus more on the issue of security, employment, and agriculture.
And we continue talking about Nigeria because as President Muhammadu Buhari started his second term in office, militant groups of the terrorist organization Boko Haram remain one of the greatest challenges in the country that the country is facing. And earlier, hearing from the South with the political analyst Socrates Mamabalu, and now let's hear what he had to say about this specific situation.
And many Nigerians actually voted for him based on the fact that he was a former military general, and they expected that he would take the cause and the fight seriously. But for the past 4 years, there has been no difference really as compared to the past president, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and things seem to actually have deteriorated. There has been no change in service chiefs, no change in Army command structure. The same chief of army staff is still the same person. The same chief of defense staff is still the same person. There has been nothing concrete that Nigerians have seen that Buhari has done about the Boko Haram issue. There have also been issues of soldiers not being paid enough, among other things. So there's really a lot that Buhari must do to change that situation.
And from Nigeria, we go to Ghana because they have become the second African country to roll out the world's first proven anti-malaria vaccine after Malawi. The country's health authority says this will help reduce the risk of children contracting the disease, known by its lab's initial FtS. And it's the first vaccine that has demonstrated it can significantly reduce malaria in children. Over 5 million confirmed cases of malaria were recorded last year only in Ghana.
So economically, when you get malaria, the family's income loses some income because the time that you spend to look after the child, you have used the time for other things. So it will go a long way. This vaccine is able to reduce malaria in children under 5. I'm sure it will help.
And you just see it yourself. This is the second part of our series, Mozambique, the People Rebuilt. Our correspondent, Andre Vieira, is there and shows us through these reports the challenges that faces the Mozambican youth after the passing of Cyclone Idai. Let's see it.
Young people are fundamental in any process of change. In Mozambique, it was the youth who formed a large part of the People's Army, which won the country's independence from Portugal in 1975. Over 40 years later, they're still an integral part of the country's reconstruction after Cyclone Idai hit. And they know that the future of this nation is in their hands.
The country needs us to continue pushing forward. We, the youth, need to study to help our nation.
Part of these new generations' struggle is the fight for gender equality in a male-dominated society.
Women are the same as men. We have equal rights. The idea that there are things that men do and things that women do no longer exists. For me, man and woman can do the same things. A woman can be even president. That's what equal rights mean.
One of the greatest challenges is creating new opportunities. According to data from Mozambique Ministry of Labor, in 2017, unemployment affected 21.1% of the population, especially young people. Even the World Bank shows that in 2018, the unemployment rate stood at 24.9%, and those figures rise to 42.38% for people between 15 and 24 years old.
The main challenge in Mozambique as a young man is the lack of opportunities. Young people in Mozambique try to be innovative, but I think that there is not a lot of support for us.
Life is not easy in a country recovering from a terrible natural disaster. Irancia Jao from Casa Nova in Sofala decided to be a teacher from a very young age.
Ever since I started school, I wanted to work with children. I wanted to teach, just like I was taught by my teachers. This is how my dream began.
She's betting on education to bring forth social change in the country.
We can say that the importance of education lies in the very development of our country.
According to the Mozambican government, in 2017, 94% of the country's kids were enrolled in primary school, but the numbers dropped drastically when it comes to secondary education, reaching only 13%. This is a challenge for all generations that deem education as the solution for all Mozambicans.
With these stories of effort, straw, and struggle, we come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and much more other research on our website, telestorenglish.net, where, of course, you can find opinion articles, special interviews, and much more information that we make especially for you. Continue with Telesur, connecting the global south. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study. Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur. Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your green zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
Discover the cultural diversity that defines a continent. The place where art and tradition are part of the same nucleus. Artistic expressions, values, passion, and more. Real life. Fridays, only on Telesur. Enjoy the best content in spaces where you will discover new perspectives, innovation, well-being, conservation, equity, traditions, a wide variety of contents that you will find on Telesur, the new source of Latin America and the Caribbean. From here to beyond the South, from here to the Caribbean or further north, where can I see news connecting the whole South? From Washington, from Mexico, from Caracas, from Quito, from Havana. You can always see the news from a new vision, connecting the global South, only on Telesur. Who's moving the chess man? What interests motivate the actors behind each event?
Se despliega el tablero.
On Critical Moves, investigates every event from Monday to Friday, only on Telesur.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your green zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
The life is full of moments. Moments of fight. Moments of hope. Moments that transcend. Moments that you can live in. Telesur documentaries. Sundays, only on Telesur.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.